All right, guys. This is Wade and Marlon with our first episode of Tables, Ladders, and Bumps, covering NXT Vengeance Day, which was, in my opinion, a better PLE than the Royal Rumble, which Marlon and I went to. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, every match was really good in this card. Um, and I don't know what your thoughts are overall on the event, Marlon, but yeah, I'd love to
Yeah,
hear
well,
what you think.
leading up to it, watching NXT at home, there's like a million other things going on. So I have like a decent understanding of what's happening and what
Hmm.
they're leading into regarding PLE. So I watched a couple of promos today, and then I just looked at the card and I was like, I'm interested in every single one of these storylines. I'm
Oh
interested
yeah.
in every single one of these matchups. So I was like, this has to be honestly, as a bias of when we were at NXT No Mercy this
Hmm.
past summer, I was like, this is a really good card, and I don't think we've had a good one since NXT No Mercy. So as far
I,
as
I,
like all around,
yeah, I would
um,
agree. I would agree with that for sure.
yeah, I could be speaking
Uh,
out of ignorance again, but this one, the card was just so memorable. So yeah, and
y- yeah, and I
plus
would
it's on the
say
cusp of a bunch of
oh, of a bunch of crazy stuff going on. Yeah.
crazy
Uh,
stuff, and also main roster call-ups. So
hmm.
it's like who's transitioning out, who's sticking around, and how crucial are these matches for this person to move on.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because I would say with this it was like for example like Roxanne Perez, this is probably her last PLE for NXT, and it seemed like the way they crafted the match and everything, they really wanted to like send her out right. This was, I mean, in the past year, this is probably my favorite match of hers. Like, I think she's really good overall, but compared to actually um the match with her and Kiana James where they had the playground thing, that was actually like really fun match. But I think overall this was just a really good match overall. But yeah, we'll get into that in more detail. I wanted to start off with like in a bit more detail, like match one, we had the the Wolf Dogs with against Trick Mellow Gang, uh, with the Wolf Dogs coming out with two choppers, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, this match, my opinion, I thought it was like pretty sloppy, especially in the beginning. Some of the charm with like the Wolf Dogs and then like Trick Mellow Gang is that they just kind of go crazy and you're going to see like wild stuff, and it's some of it's going to connect, some of it's going to connect on accident and make make each other bloody, um but like that's part of the charm with this match in my opinion. But yeah, particularly not to bash on Trick, I thought he looked way better in the second match than this, but I mean in the beginning of the match he was kind of a little bit far away on a lot of his
Yeah.
moves. Um, but yeah, what did you think about the match overall?
Yeah, I think there were a few sequences here that were just fully loaded as far as like the back and forths
Hmm.
between, Trick and Braun, or Braun and Mello, and Trick and Baron. But there was that closing sequence at the end where they were hitting like two or three moves on each other right in a row, and then like Trick went for the neck breaker, and I was like, "What?
Oh yeah,
What was that?" But
that
yeah, no,
was
I agree. It was some misses by Trick, and that's fine. He's so over. It's
yeah.
allowed. He's so over, but at this point, to me, that was a great match. I thought it was going to be Matt Knight. I was wrong, but it had everything that you would hope for. I mean, Trick, Mello, and Braun are like about a year ago, they were just stepping into their prime for NXT, right? I could be wrong. Could have been prior to, but it was a
You talking
little
about
after Mania where
Mello and Braun, or
Mello
is
and
that who?
Braun, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
yes,
then
yeah.
shortly
That
after, around the summer, Trick started getting more on the mic. So these are like the more seasoned of the NXT. So you just
hmm.
expected a solid show out of these ones.
Yeah, and Trick, I believe he started wrestling in 2021. Um,
Hmm.
and it's not like, to my knowledge, I think he just did football and was like a
Right.
wide receiver, tight end or something. And that's not really like the skill set that's like the most conducive. Like Braun Breaker, he was a football player, but he was like a running back. So that kind of like goes with like I feel like his speed and he also has the family members that wrestled. So he has like a lot of different like advantages to Trick, and Trick being so tall, it's a lot harder to like be as
Hmm.
coordinated, I think. So I think he has a few things that are like stacked up like it's not like he's gonna be like a Kurt Angle that comes in and like in 6 months he can like you mean
Right.
do banger matches with like an amateur wrestling background. So um
Right.
I have seen a lot of improvement from Trick, and I mean the match with Ilya I thought was amazing. So that was like the best I've seen him wrestle. So
Yeah.
and also like that workload for someone that's like so new.
Hmm.
Um and I know it's like, he's been for a few years, but two matches in one night is a lot to a lot to do. Like I was telling you, like MJF was doing that this year in AEW, but like he's probably like the best wrestler under 30 years old in the world. So
Right.
like it's like
Right.
yeah, it's just there's a big difference. I thought in this match, um, they had Trick kind of hurt his knee, which we kind of knew, okay, that was gonna like it's like as soon as that happens, you see him limp. We're like, okay, this is going to come into play for the second match, of course. And I liked Mello kind of taking the bullet for him in the match. I thought that was a good touch, and all of us knew Mello's going to screw him over at some point. Like they've been building
Right.
this story for so long, but um, I felt like the build up and everything was really good with it, and I also think that I liked how they had kind of the in between segments with them, like after the match and stuff. Like they kind of kept a show storyline a little bit with it, and
Hmm.
it made your heart kind of crush even more because you're like, oh man, Melo's really like. I'm like when he's like, no, I want you in my corner. I was like, oh no, like this is gonna like this is the worst thing you could do. But
Right.
I like I really liked that touch. Um, But if you want, we could just, I think, just going into the second trick match, since like
Yeah.
the
Let's do it.
story kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
let's do
Let's
that.
continue the story.
Yeah. Hopefully we finish this one. So we
Sore
have
subject right now.
sore subject. Uh, we have Trick versus Dragunov, and I love this match. I don't think there's been a bad Ilya Dragunov match that I've seen this year.
True.
I think my least favorite was probably him versus Corbin. And that was just because they did like 20 minutes of Corbin beating him up, and then he hit like a few like of his finishers, and that was the match. So we didn't really get to see him do anything other than get his like ass beat for 20 minutes in that match and then pull like go crazy. But this one I think like overall, I think for the most part it was like back and forth, but you did have Dragunov kind of like dominating in certain points. Um,
Mhm.
I thought the back and forth like made sense in the match. Sometimes in some of these, especially in NXT matches, there's like a back and forth just to have a back and forth. And this, it seemed like there was kind of a story that was going on in it. The ebbs and flows of the match made sense. We knew there was going to be interference because Mello was at ringside. But yeah, I felt like everything kind of made sense. Some people would probably get annoyed with a ref bump. I was fine with that. In this, like, there was going to be shenanigans in this match because there's going to be kind of a blow up of in some way that Mello's going to turn on him. So I was cool with it. If there was like a second ref bump, I would have probably been a bit annoyed, but one one was fine for me. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the match?
I mean, just speaking of the ref bump, I was surprised that a ref came in so quickly.
I know,
I
me
mean,
too.
it was within the 10 count of the fans counting, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
was pretty dang close. And I haven't seen that in a minute where a ref is just so readily available. Usually the ref is like they're trying to wake the ref up or he's out for
Yeah.
like a good 2, 3 minutes. So I was appreciative of that. I was like, oh man, like this is reminds me of the old school when a ref would come back in and save the day. But the the Trick and Dragunov match, amazing back and forths. Love how they were, Mello brought up the busted lip of Trick in that
Hmm.
sequence in the
In
backstage
the
talk,
locker room,
when
yeah.
they were getting up. And I was like, oh man, that busted lip really played into this. It looks really good. Of course, I was texting you. I was like, man, if they only just drink each other's blood, um, I'll Texas death match. That'd be pretty cool. But no, I thought it was really good. And then my heart started like sinking when Mello started interfering outside of the ring, and I was like, "Oh no, here we go! Like, how is this gonna play out?" And it played out very well because they took it into the story of Trick being injured and he couldn't execute some key moves at the end. So it was
Yeah.
it was good. I liked it. I
Yeah.
liked this match a lot.
Yeah, Mello like falling into his knee instead of like
Yeah,
him hurting Trick on purpose and stuff. I thought was like a good touch. It's kind of like giving you just like the faint, like, oh, he's not, maybe he won't turn on him today. All this stuff's like kind of accidental.
right.
So, because I
That's
thought
exactly
like,
what I thought.
yeah, I thought okay, like Trick's gonna be pissed at him like on Tuesday,
Another
and
week.
then they'll,
Yeah,
but yeah, I honestly didn't expect him to the way the match ended and everything. I didn't expect him to turn on him at the end of the thing. And then I saw like the credits were going, it's still and I was like, "Oh no, like they're doing it today." Just
yeah,
because they were like showing it his face change and everything. I'm like, "Okay, they're
yeah.
doing it today." And I
And you could hear it when as soon as he stepped behind Trick, you could hear the
yeah.
crowd going, "Oh!" Like
Yeah.
he knew it was coming. I was like, "Oh man,
Yeah, part of me thought I was like, oh, they might tease it, and then like Trick turns around and he's like, oh, like gives him a hug or whatever. But no, and at first, like for me, I'm like, okay, story wise, why would, because he didn't actually sabotage him, in my opinion, on purpose. I think he was trying to actually help him win. And so, in my opinion, what was the purpose of him actually trying to help him and then turning on him when he loses? Like, at first I'm like, why would he do that? But then maybe you think of it in a different way, but I think he thinks he could beat Trick easier than he can beat Ilya. And he
hmm
was like, okay, if I can help him beat Dragunov,
you're right,
it's a way easier way for me to get the title um than me having to beat psychopath Ilya Dragunov. So, and just like the match isn't going to be as there's no way it's going to be as crazy. You're not going to get hit nearly as hard. So, that was
right,
kind of my thought process. And like once he failed taking it off of Dragunov, he's like, all right, dude, like you were close, but you're you're useless to me now, kind of.
right."
It's kind of how I saw it. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, so he would kind of use Trick as an easier path versus getting the title
Hmm.
from Dragon, right? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious where this could go because, as we mentioned before, like these Melo's on the cusp of being main roster, right?
Yes. I how I see it is I think Melo's gonna be a tweener for the next 2 months.
Hmm.
And they're gonna have this be the main event of Stand and Deliver the weekend because there's no way Melo would have a WrestleMania match. Like that's
No.
like Tiffany Stratton, yes, there's a good chance she has a WrestleMania match. Melo, no way. He has a WrestleMania match unless he got into some weird tag team in the next. But they have too many good tag teams for men, so I don't see any way that that happens. Uh, with that at
So you're talking
all.
about him having a proper storyline leading into Mania, right? So
Yeah,
he'll have,
there's just no it's too stacked. Like I could see Braun Breaker having a match
yeah,
perhaps, but I can't see Mello just storyline wise having anything and just how they used him in the Rumble. I don't I don't see it where like they could have Braun Breaker do something with one of the goons from Judgment Day, either Dom or um
JD.
bobblehead. Yeah. So
Yeah. He does look like a
yeah.
bobblehead.
Yeah, no, he does. I love JD, but he does have a huge head. So um yeah. That's kind of my thought. So I think Mello having kind of that would be the headlining match at
Stand and
Stand and
deliver.
Deliver.
Yeah. Where they
So
finished Unsettled Business, right?
yeah, that's easily the headlining match. I can't think of, even if
Right.
Ilya has the belt, Trick and Mello against each other is in a blood feud is a
Hmm.
huge match. So
Yeah.
that would be my opinion. So I think that would be great for both of them. They're probably obviously like really good friends too, and you're gonna probably get as good of a match out of Trick with
Hmm.
someone like Mela, who's like a great worker. He'll put himself in positions. He'll take some crazy bumps too. I think it's gonna make Trick look like $1 million.
True.
So
Help put him over even more as a
y-
wrestler.
yeah, and yeah, I really liked his kind of heel work at the end of the match. I we've talked for a long time. I wasn't completely bought into Mello in NXT. I
Mhm.
just don't like the I'm him kind of cocky babyface thing.
Yeah.
I despise it. But like he was pretty good in the ring. I'm more of a Dragunov style guy,
Right.
but the nuance in his character work, um, as like kind of showing us little heelish things and just like kind of doing like dickish things, like just a little
Hmm.
bit. Like was still a baby face, but he's just like kind of showing you the cracks a little bit. I thought was
Hmm.
has been really good these last few months. And I thought he pulled off being I haven't seen him be a heel at all. I thought he pulled off the heel and just being an
Right.
a-hole like really well at the end of that after that match. So yeah, he's impressed me. I think he's ready for the main roster. But yeah, that'll be a great match, I think.
Yeah, they'll
Um,
definitely take it to WrestleMania weekend
yeah.
uh, and deliver.
Uh,
So, would you ever get a Mellow shirt then?
no, I mean, I would rock one now, but I definitely, if you would have asked me like 7 months ago, I would have not been rocking a Mellow shirt. Not that I just didn't see what a lot of like different analysts and like
Right.
YouTubers and like people like they were like obsessed with Mellow, and I'm like, I mean, he's technically very good, uh,
Right.
but just yeah, the character I just could not. I just was not a fan.
I was like this close from getting a Mellow Don't Miss shirt today. Like this close. It was 25% off on Fanatics. I was like, ah. So I just bought an LWO hat, $12.
I
Boom.
mean, that's a good deal for a hat, regardless. So
It is. And it's a dad hat too, the kind that we
yeah,
like. So
yeah. So we don't look like 909ers with the flat bill. Yeah. So we go into like very like intense, like serious, like the story that's built up. We just talked about. Uh,
Yeah. Speaking of
kind of
story,
great story. The match, the story in the match was great too. And then the next match I want to talk about is the Joe Gacy versus Dijak one,
oh
which
my
is literally
gosh.
like polar opposite because it is like cartoonish, which is
Yes.
what I like about both of these guys. They're so weird. Um,
They
like
are. They're so eccentric.
it's so I could watch. You know what? If they do a best of 12 with these guys, I'm like here
Oh, heck
for
yeah.
it. So like
Yeah.
so I liked um the feud with um Eddie, what's his last name?
Eddie Thorpe.
Uh Eddie Thorpe, yeah, Eddie Thorpe and Dijak, just because of how psycho. Like I think Eddie Thorpe's good. I like his character. His in-ring's great. But Dijak just takes it to such a cartoonish level when he's like beating his tree and stuff with a belt and just
Oh,
like
yeah.
in
Oh,
front
yeah.
of his like cousin niece, he's like making the little girl cry and stuff. I think him with an equally cartoonish guy like Joe
Yes.
Gacy, I didn't know I would like it this much, but I was all about this match. Um, I don't know if it was my favorite one, but it was like it's one of my favorite matches I've seen this year. Wasn't technically great, No, not necessarily,
No,
but
it was
just
like a Looney Tunes event. It was
yeah, it was
I'm surprised an anvil wasn't dropped on somebody's
yeah,
head.
yeah, it was just yeah, setting up like the little like the toy soldiers and stuff on the
Toy soldiers on the
table. Yeah.
table.
It's just so stupid. And the duct tape, honestly, one of the smartest things I've seen. I've not seen. I must have seen someone do it at some point, but I've not seen it recently. Like duct taping someone's eyes
Yeah,
closed. Like
no,
that
it
is for,
was legit.
for if you're doing a hardcore match, that should be done like every time because
Oh,
that is like
totally.
the best advantage ever.
Taking away
Yeah,
someone's vision. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and he eventually gets the duct tape off, and then Joe Gacy's like hanging upside down on the ropes for no reason. Like, what the hell was this match? Yeah, it's just so stupid. He like pushes him off uh the ring apron basically or on the post and he lands onto the you mean Hot Wheels and all this stuff and it's just everything about this match was comic. Yeah,
There was a
I just
couple of angles in this match. Well, in this PLE, it started with the Joe Gacy situation where he was hanging upside down. And kudos
yeah.
to the NXT WWE production team of just getting the right camera angles because
Yeah,
if we were there live, we would have seen him setting himself up in that turnbuckle, right? Upside
that's
down.
true. Yeah.
And same thing with Lyra jumping off of the top rope at the last second, right?
Yeah.
In the impromptu triple threat match. I loved that. It was the element of surprise is why we watch wrestling, and I'll say this over and over again. It is why we watch, and whether from home or in person,
Hmm.
those spots right there totally had me. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that Joe Gacy part. There was just I was like laughing that whole match. Like I was just and Dijak's acting like cuz both of them are cartoonish, but Dijak just like being like why won't you die? Like he's just like
Right.
disturbed by how weird Joe Gacy is. It's like
Yeah.
because like I felt like he was more creeped out by Joe Gacy than he was by Ilya Dragunov, who like enjoys pain. Like
Right.
so he's had the weirdest feuds. But yeah, I'm like Dijak's he might be in my top 10 favorite wrestlers right now just because he's like so ridiculous. Yeah, I'm obsessed with him. But yeah,
I
great
love
match.
Dijak's um just the way he thinks he's above everybody and he's
Yeah.
doing his and that's his job. Like he's cleaning up the trash. Like remember when he beat up Eddie Thorpe like on his way to the ramp, on his way out the ramp, he's like, put some trash out of here.
Get it out of
And just
here.
kept moving on. And then he told Joe Gacy that he's a piece of trash and this is where he deserves to be in a dumpster.
Yeah.
Like, I love how he thinks that he's like this PI investigator, Mr. Bad Cop situation, and he's above these people. Like he is the law, and that just cracks me. When you say cartoonish, this is a total
Oh
like
yeah.
comic book character. It is hilarious.
He's essentially like Mickey Rourke's character from Sin City, which is funny because he's like
Oh yeah,
he like his imagery is like the Sin City, like the design of his logo is like the Sin City thing, but he's just
yeah,
like such an over the top like I'm gonna go in here and clean this place up like and
yeah,
it's like you're worse than everyone in here.
yeah.
But yeah, I him on Twitter too is amazing. Like when they were talking about Okada going to NXT and he's like I think he was just saying he was gonna beat Okada's ass if he came to NXT and stuff. Just I could be wrong, but I swear I read him say something like that, and it's just so in line with his character. Uh like I would love to like if I could interview anyone in NXT, he'd be like
Oh
towards the
yeah,
top of my list.
oh yeah,
Just because I want to see how he is would interact with me in an interview and like threaten me and stuff. I would
right.
be all about it if he just like chopped me or like big booted me in my interview. I'd be like, all right, like this is awesome. This guy's a
Yeah,
psycho.
if you would stay kayfabe, oh, that'd be so great. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Um. Yeah. So yeah, the next match on the card. Anything else about that match? I mean, I think we went
No, it was no,
pretty.
it was perfect. It was
We went
great.
more into detail in that match than it really needed to be, but
Yeah.
uh,
Arguably
the
match of the night. Arguably.
oh
But we'll
yeah.
see.
Um yeah, the next one, the family versus OTM.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
I was shocked by this match. I
Hmm.
thought it would be, I think because of not knowing how Adriana Rizzo and Jada Parker, I have not seen either of them actually wrestle like a full match at all. And they've been pushing them hard, so I thought maybe there's in like main event or like the other level up or something. Maybe they've been getting a lot of matches and getting some good experience. I think both of their character work has been good. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, I just was like, okay, uh, the co-ed tag team. We don't. You had mentioned like texted me like, when's the last time we saw this? I can't think of
Yeah.
one off the top of my head,
Yeah, me
but
either.
um, and they must have done one with LWO and like Judgment
Oh
Day,
yeah, maybe.
maybe.
And I think Edge and his wife
Yeah,
and
Beth
versus the Miz and
Phoenix.
Maurice. That was like the last one. That was like a couple of years ago already though, right?
Oh,
Or
they did
last year.
one with Rhea and Dom, I think too.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, I mean that's like a year ago. So I know
Hmm.
AEW had some, but yeah, WWE I haven't seen any, or or they were just not memorable. That
Right.
but this was uh so
They
OTM's
executed
like
it well.
very well.
Yep.
I thought like was it the most crisp match ever? No. Like it was, but that's like part of the charm with OTM. Like those dudes
Mm-hmm.
are just hosses
Yep.
and kind of the grittiness of them.
Mhm.
Same with the family. Like it's not ever, I mean, it's not going to look like a New Japan tag match ever. Like you're not going to see the best technical wrestling, so they're not going to get some crazy submission work or anything.
No.
But I thought this was probably the best that the family has looked to me in
Mhm.
months, probably since we saw them in Bakersfield. I thought that tag was pretty good, and that one was just, I felt like they were a little bit carried by like uh the Garzas, Angel
Mhm.
Garza and Berto. In that match was pretty sick actually that we went to. But I thought the family looked really good. This is by far the best OTM's looked.
Mhm.
Uh I thought the heel work with Scripps kind of coming in and like picking his spots. I thought it was pretty well done, like really well done. Um Jada Parker and Adriana Rizzo. I was really impressed with both of them. Like they looked like they've been wrestling for a while, in my opinion.
That frog
And
splash by Adriana.
yeah,
You
that
pointed that
was
out. When I saw the
yeah.
replay, I was like, oh, that was pretty clean. That
Yeah,
was
and
pretty clean.
I think she was a long jumper in college.
Ah.
Like that's what she did. So like I'm like, okay, it makes sense that she like I think she was like all American long jumper. So I mean it makes
Hmm.
sense that her hops are like pretty nuts.
Right.
But her character works like one of my favorite on the roster of the women. Just like her accent and everything. I'm like pretty positive that's not how she talks in real life. Like there's no way. Just like it's just so ridiculous everything about it. But I'd like to see another match with them to be honest.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I was excited when OTM was going to debut because I mean the dudes are like Bronco Nima I think is like 6'5" or something. Like the dude's
Hmm.
insanely big. So and yeah, this was by far the best they looked. So
Right.
yeah, I like this match. It wasn't like my match of the night, but I honestly might have liked it more than the other tag match with Trick Mellow Gang and Braun Break and the Wolf Dogs.
Yeah, that's definitely fair, especially because you have the
Yeah.
element mixed tag match. You have the element of like you said, the grittiness from
Hmm.
both sides, from the family when they were doing those like the headlock uppercuts to the body,
Yeah.
or then when he had the double team from OTM on Stacks in the corner, like just stuff like that just made this so good. They worked every element perfectly, given Adriana spots, given Jada spots, um, and then gosh, his name just slipped my mind. Not Stacks. Who's on the
Oh,
outside?
Tony D
No,
or
no, who's on the
Scripps?
outside of the league? Scripps.
Yeah.
So when Scripps was interfering, like you said, it was perfectly picked. Uh, Arguably, yeah, I would say it is, but it was better than the first tag match.
I
And
think
I was happy that these guys shined.
yeah, and I think part of it might be with the Braun, like Braun Breaker looked amazing in the tag match, and like Melo looked pretty good. I don't, I just felt like yeah, Baron, it wasn't, he didn't do as much in that match. So like
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like I might have had really high expectations for that match. I mean, you did too. You thought that was going to be the match of the night. So
Hmm.
I think if we watch it over again, it might be better than we remember, but I thought it was going to be like insane.
Right,
And this one, like, I didn't know what to expect in this match. Like,
right.
because I had not seen Jada Parker wrestle at all. And dude, she took a crazy bump when Stacks threw the Riz, and like it was just he threw it, and I think she just flipped more than he expected because she's way
Yeah,
lighter than him, like throwing Stacks, and she nailed her in the face with her heels. And
I
there's
saw
like,
that. She looked surprised.
oh yeah,
Both
I'm
of
like
them.
she's lucky she didn't break her nose or like
Right,
I mean she
right.
might have a black eye for sure
Yeah,
like
I saw that.
tomorrow.
I think J Adriana and Jada both looked surprised after that. Like, holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that was pretty nuts. So shout out to them. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna go to the Obafemi and Dragon Lee match next. I want to finish with the Roxanne one.
yeah.
Yeah. So Obafemi, Dragon Lee. Um, what were your thoughts on this? It was I thought it was
Okay.
fine, but
So all the promos leading up to this, great, solid. You got Big Giant versus Little David. So it's kind of like a
mhm.
David and Goliath situation. This guy just comes in and he's like, I take on challengers, and or he says, I want that belt, and he comes and he gets it. And I love the lead up to this. I think that the match was well done, just showing Oba's dominance
Mhm.
over a dynamic wrestler like Dragon Lee. I mean, Dragon Lee arguably is at the top of NXT as far as performance, character,
Oh yeah.
and stature, right? So him allowing Oba to shine with such contrasting body types and skills and styles, I loved it. It was another solid match for me, and Oba just remains dominant. He remains dominant.
Yeah, he's this so his other matches I thought he was fine in, but they were so short, all of them,
Right.
like what, like 5 minutes max, probably. And he's such a hoss. I wasn't sure where I saw his ceiling. I had his ceiling like a little bit lower than like other people did, just because I'm like, yeah, he looks cool, and he could like chuck people, and like his grittiness and like how raw he looks, I think is part of the charm with him. But something I'm like, I don't know how, but his selling was actually pretty good in this match. And I think some of it helps like Dragon Lee, his he's so precise with everything, and like everything's like snug. It's like as close as you're gonna get like to hitting him without hitting him. That like it makes it a lot easier to react as opposed to like if someone's like getting maybe 6 inches away from you or something. I feel like Dragon Lee being so good helps. I mean, he was with as good of a person as you could have as a dance
Mhm.
partner, realistically. Like Dragon Lee's amazing. I mean, think about when we were the Raw we went to in Ontario, the Dragon Lee Dom match. How good
Mhm.
that match was. So, uh, yeah, Dragon Lee's amazing. I think everyone, he could probably make me or you look competent out there. But yeah, I was really impressed with Obafemi's match. Um, yeah, that they crafted it in a good way. I loved when he bit the rope to get the rope break, like, like his arms are like tied back and he's like standing, and I was like, well, he can't
That
really
was
do
good.
anything other than use his teeth, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad they did that spot because
That
uh
was good.
it just made him look like a monster. So yeah, I thought honestly this is probably my least favorite match on the card,
Mhm.
which if I you would have asked me before the card, I would there's absolutely no way. And it's not because this was bad. I just it was fine.
Right.
Um, um, and I think part of the reason it wasn't as good of a match for me is because the next match we're going to talk about I thought was like really, really good.
Mm.
The women's match.
Right.
But
Yeah,
I
when
think
you
that
rank it a bit against a bunch of other matches that were surprisingly not just good but great,
yeah,
you had low or little to no expectations on them. Um, yeah, it was a good match, Oba and Dragon Lee,
yeah.
but compared to the rest, where you're like, oh my goodness, like, oh, that was a thing. So yeah, no, I agree. It could be um
Like
the
they
non-match.
really the first four matches, like we started Wolf Dogs versus Trick Mellow Gang. Like it wasn't as good as I had hoped, but it was still a good match. And then you go to like Gacy Dijak, which was nuts. Then the Family versus OTM, that was like shockingly like very good, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And then you go to Roxanne versus Lyra, which was like that was probably I think this was my favorite match of the
This is your
night.
match of the night?
Yeah, this is my match of the night. So, um, they did a lot of stuff, and like I have like the amateur wrestling background, and they did a lot of like technical like amateur wrestling stuff in the beginning with like different submissions and their kind of like chain wrestling. I thought was like really good, and that's like stuff I like that probably not as many people like, but that's something that I enjoy seeing, just like technical submission, like exchanging holds and things like that that like looked really clean for the most part. Um, I thought uh, I thought the layout of the match, they kind of let it, they kind of like were taking you on like a little bit of the I mean, it was like three parts, it felt like to me. You had the really the beginning where they're kind of feeling each other out, and it was like a real technical wrestling match. There weren't a ton of strikes, but it was like a lot of, okay, I'm going for this submission hold. I'm going to try to pin you here and try to catch you in this. And then it got a lot more. Then there was like a more physical portion where it started really heating up, and then you have the cash in, which was like I did not expect it. I was just like, oh, I'm feeling this match, and at first I was kind of pissed they had a cash in because I'm like, I'd like to see them go another 10 minutes. And I thought, oh, they have the cash in, so they're just
It's
gonna be
over.
some weird thing, and it's like over. But they let him. What was it like? At least another 5 to 10 minutes. Like they let him like
Mhm.
scrap, and I liked that portion of the match too. Like that was actually like really well done. I thought Lola Vice kind of showed me the things that I had seen in her previously. Like I saw them again. Her kicks were like super crisp. Like the spinning back fist was nice. Um, yeah, I thought she looked really good. Um, and I loved like the I like Roxanne Perez a lot. I think she's really good, but I thought the story with her, it looked like she was about to win, and then Lola Vice comes in and is like ruining it, and the desperation and the way Roxanne kind of changed her wrestling, where she's like takes it up to another gear and starts getting like desperate and is like, no way, I'm gonna lose this match again. I'm again a title match again and not get pinned in the title match, which is
Mhm.
like kind of the story of her thing. She won the title, like it got stripped from her, then she got to another title match, but didn't like lose to anyone in the title. Like she didn't get pinned in the title match. It was like a ladder match. So, she's never been beaten for the title, and this happened.
It's true.
Yeah. So I thought this was like a really, it was a really good story, and I like her as a wrestler a lot, and I think her and Lyra had really good chemistry, and then for Lola Vice to come in when those girls are like putting on like a really good match. And then I thought it added just another layer to it and another level. I feel like that's very difficult to do. Usually, if that happens, I feel like the match would turn and go in a very terrible way. But
Right.
yeah. What did you think?
Well, yeah, the like you said, it had various parts, and when Lola cashed in, first of all, nobody expected it. Secondly, it went on for another 5 to 10 minutes of another good match as a triple threat match.
Yeah.
That it's hardly ever that. It usually ends
No,
abruptly.
no.
It's usually a moment where somebody gets screwed over. And the cool thing was that Lyra was still in it, even though there was a cash in. Usually the champion gets taken out some way, somehow.
Hmm.
So I thought that was really cool. And if Roxanne's moving up to main roster, which it looks like she's going to have another feud maybe until Mania weekend, um, maybe. But
Maybe,
you know,
yeah. That's a good point.
but now she has another feud to go on with Lola, and she could help put Lola over too. Because, like you said, the last few weeks when Lola, after she won the contract in the tournament, like she didn't look as good or crisp as she did during the tournament.
Yeah, I think some of it was like the style of things that she's been in. I don't think her promos are the strongest. And since she's had the contract, it's been focused on promos,
Hmm.
in my opinion, or like failed cash in attempts where like every time it's a failed cash in attempt, you look like a goober every time.
Hmm.
Like
It's
anytime you
true.
fail one, you just look like a doofus. And she failed at least 3 times, which
Hmm.
like I feel like even if you don't want it to lower your opinion, like subconsciously you're gonna be like, what the hell's wrong with this person? They like had a
Right.
weird, creepy person that like pets themselves with a feather, like stop them from cashing in like again. So uh I
I
think
love
that
that. I love that. I love that
oh
character too.
I yeah, I love Tatum Paxley. Like I'm a
I love
huge
Tatum
fan
Paxton.
of her. Which I mean we kind of knew she was gonna end up like saving Lyra for sure.
Right.
Like she ends up saving the day for her. But you know, that's a good point with the Roxanne stuff with probably a feud with Lola Vice. I didn't even they're definitely gonna do that, and that'll probably be a Vengeance Day thing because there's no way Roxanne will have she'll probably do double duty. I bet she'll be
Right.
on Raw and NXT, which is I mean good for her. Like she's looks better than I mean me and you were talking like that. There's like 3 people I can name on the Raw roster that are for sure I think they're better than her in the ring. Which is
But
like
the rest,
the rest I can't they may be on par, but not I don't and like obviously there's like Natalia who's like technically an amazing wrestler, but she just doesn't have the same like pop and like it's not as fresh as Roxanne where like she's a little
Mhm.
spitfire and like she could do a lot of stuff that you mean Natty can't do anymore, realistically. Even though I think I like Natalia more than you, but yeah, it's just yeah, I think yeah, you got Rhea and Becky, and then Zoe probably. I like the way Zoe wrestles a lot. I think that is someone that I don't necessarily think Roxanne is better than, but other than that, I can't think of anyone.
Yeah, it's
Um,
tough. Chelsea Green.
Yeah, as a whole character and stuff, but as a wrestler, like yeah, Chelsea's
Yeah, I
character
get it.
is like so good. But yeah, I mean, I would put a title on Chelsea before Roxanne in the main roster, even
Mhm.
a singles title. Like Chelsea's like
Wow.
perfect Money in the Bank winner. Like she should win
Wow.
Money in the Bank. But like I would that'd be my favorite like her and Dom need to be Money in the Bank winners next year. Like that would be the most obnoxious people with a briefcase
That'd be cool.
ever. But yeah, her in particular, because she's like the complaining to the manager type of thing. That's like the exact type of person you want with that briefcase. So, but yeah, Roxanne's ready, but I think that's a great person for her uh, for Lola Vice to get experience with,
Right.
in the ring, because they had good chemistry, I thought.
I thought so too.
So I think with Lola, it's me seeing her wrestle. I feel like it's a little bit opponent dependent.
Hmm.
Part of it might be a PLE thing too, where like they're probably like, yeah, you could just smack me with a spinning back fist, I don't care, instead of like really trying to pull it like on a NXT TV match where they're not trying to like because they were like laying like that spinning backfish. She like smacked the hell out out of whoever that was against. Like that they weren't really like pulling back on the kicks or anything very much. So
Right.
some of it might be like it's PLE and like Roxanne and Lyra like yeah you can kick me in the head I don't care. Or it could just be like the opponent. So, but yeah, this reinvigorated. I've been pro Lola Vice. She's really new, but I thought she looked really good again, and her in a feud with Roxanne. I think that's great. Like,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, yeah, because Roxanne, she's not gonna be at WrestleMania.
Right.
Like that ain't
I think
happening.
yeah, I think Tatum Paxley and Lyra are gonna have a new relationship too, because I don't know if Lyra noticed Tatum like saving her. Um,
They'll
so
reference it in the PLE, I bet. But yeah, I don't think I didn't notice.
I thought
I
she
don't
went
think there was a
down.
way she would have seen. Yeah.
Right. So I
Um.
think that'll reinvigorate or just change the status of their relationship. So, and then they'll end up feuding, I bet. So
Oh yeah, they're
they'll
gonna
be
have a
Mickey
feud,
James, Trish Stratus situation.
which is good for Tatum Paxley because she like I think she's a pretty decent wrestler and she like wasn't doing anything for like months
Right.
and she has like she has a cool look and stuff like as a creepy person and like she's going all in this role and it's
Yeah.
like it is weird but like you're supposed to be like a creepy obsessed person there's like I'd rather have her do it like this than like you mean like serial like I mean this is kind of serial
Like
murdery
Alexa
but
Bliss.
like yeah, like I feel like
Yeah.
it's to a level that's like funny still.
Yeah. It
Like
is
where
funny.
she's like just like in a window, like
Yeah.
it's so stupid. But um yeah, I'm a fan of it. Yeah, I think yeah, that's the last I have on that match. I knew Roxanne wasn't gonna win just
Right.
because it's like
She
a
can't hold a title,
matter
right?
yeah, it's a matter of days before she's up at the main roster.
Right.
Um So yeah, but yeah, her and Lola Vice, I'm good with that. I'm trying to figure out who Lyra is gonna have at the next pay-per-view. Who would it even be?
Well, Nikita Lyons, I think
Kiana?
they're trying to push.
No, I don't. Not a
No, you don't
pay-per-view.
think so?
Not pay-per-view. She lost her
Um,
feud with she got she this is how little they're pushing her. She came back, the person who supposedly tore her ACL, she lost the feud to the person who tore her ACL. So like I don't think that's like the anti-push. Like if you lose to the person who like broke your leg after, you know what I mean? I don't like I can't see her getting a title shot. We'll probably see her on TV more, but
yeah.
like you know what I mean? I just yeah, Blair Davenport like beat the like kind of dominated her in that match. Blair already had a match, right, with Lyra?
With Lyra? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. It was on TV.
Yeah, that's right.
It
That was
was
a PLE too, right? I think. Or no.
no, I think it was an
She
NXT spot.
oh, it's because she won it at Iron Survivor, and
Right,
then
right.
so
I would
I
like
mean,
to see Gigi, and it probably would have been Cora Jade if she
it would
wasn't
have been
injured.
Cora Jade for sure. Cora Jade would have taken
Yeah,
the title off of her.
right.
Um,
I would
Probably
like to see
here.
Gigi.
Yeah, I haven't. hmm,
Like,
I
what other
haven't.
heel women are there?
Kiana James is like
Deanna
actually looks
James.
really good right now. I think Kiana James would be like my pick, but I'm biased. I thought she looked the best in that qualifier to
Hmm.
get the spot that Roxanne won.
Hmm.
So I thought Kiana James like the last like 2 months I thought has looked like really really good. That's who I think should have it, but it looks like she's gonna have um a feud with someone else because they had the little like
The
vignette with
list.
her. Yeah, so I don't know. It should be her in my opinion, but yeah, heel. Um, yeah, I would say Kiana James is probably the best. You could have Fallon Henley,
Talent. Lash Legend.
but she has the thing with Lash Legend right now.
Hmm.
So yeah, who is even? maybe they're gonna do the Tatum Paxley thing. Maybe that's what they
Maybe.
do next.
Yeah. They'll run
So
it from now until Stand and Deliver.
there's one before that, right? March.
Oh. Oh yeah, yeah, March and then April. Yep. I forget
So
which
I
one it is
think
though.
so I would think Lyra would should have a match for both of those. And I would see maybe I would hope Kiana James, but I'd be cool with Tatum. I feel like yeah, they got a month to blow that off,
Yeah.
like and have them feud or whatever. And then probably her and Lola Vice again, and have Lola
Hmm.
Vice beat her at Stand and Deliver.
Hmm.
I think is probably the best
Yep. Yep.
because Lola Vice failed cash in. Like she's actually pretty promising.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean the women's division they have Julia coming like almost for sure too.
Wow.
So
What?
that yeah, Julia's like especially with the Stardom stuff going on right now. I'm like pretty positive. Like AEW didn't even talk to her. Um, or wasn't even
Wow.
in talks, which is insane to me. Um, because I mean, Mariah May's great and a huge pickup from Stardom, but Julia's like the big talent from there. It's just she doesn't. Her English is not great
Hmm.
yet, so that's why she'll go to NXT because she's better than most of the main women's roster. But yeah, I mean, the women's that is a deep roster.
Right.
Because even with the call-ups, you have Tiffany just left. Roxanne is about to leave. That's like two of the people that have been there for like basically
Two
two
plus.
years.
Yeah.
Um, but Lyra, I think, is doing a good job, in my
Surprisingly better
opinion.
than I thought she would.
She's
Nothing against Lyra, but she's carrying
yeah,
the belt pretty well.
her confidence has really increased a lot. Like I think her promos have gotten a lot better. Um, yeah, I'm very impressed. I did not expect her to. She plays a great baby face. Like she's
Right.
natural. Like I can't see her playing a heel very well. Maybe she could, but
Right.
she's a really good natural baby face. Like um her
That's true.
in-ring stuff looks like her in-ring is always like pretty good. It varies sometimes, but if you have someone who's like skilled in the ring, I haven't seen a bad match with her
Hmm.
unless it's like someone who doesn't know what they're doing and that's not really her fault on in that situation. So Uh, yeah, I'm a big fan of. Uh, I liked her, but her Becky kind of feud, I wasn't
Yeah,
that
me
in.
neither.
I was not that into it, but I'm shocked to be honest. Like and she's still young and everything too, so I'm just like all it is developmental, so I try not to like judge super hard for the NXT people, but that's like one of those you gave the person the rock and let him run with it, and she's exceeded expectations. She should be in the main roster in a year, probably, I would
Hmm.
think. So, but yeah, I mean, you have her. Lola Vice is still pretty green, but like she has something that a lot of the other girls don't have. With her like strikes and her MMA background. You have Fallon Henley, who's looked really good.
Hmm.
Kiana James has looked good.
Hmm.
Those are all like people like big if you're doing your pay-per-views, excuse me, around all of those girls. And then you have
Yeah.
Thea Hale, who I didn't even talk. She's got a Valentine now, which is a huge deal. So,
Hey, we got to
uh,
talk about that segment.
yeah, we got to talk about that. So, um, where was I watching? Someone was complaining. It was the What Culture people who we like a lot, but they were complaining about there's no way the sales of these
The calendars are going to
calendar
save the
like because
university.
they're like, oh well, how much does a college cost? Like, or how much is their budget? And they're like, well, it's millions. And I'm like, well, this is a college of 30 people. So like I
Yeah.
think the budget is probably like a lot less. And if I remember right, um I think they said the like um the debt was like hundreds of thousands. So and they were like said 3 million, and they're like, well, they'd have to sell like 40,000 like calendars or something ridiculous. And then I did like, let me do this. $25 calendar. Okay. Let's say it's $250,000 of debt, which is still a lot for a college of 30 people that has
Yeah.
one building, but uh in a
Hey, it's
fictional.
so your money goes by so fast these days. You can,
Yeah, so 250,000 and let's say it's $25 whatever.
yeah.
They're going to make $25 of profit. That's 10,000 10,150 calendars. You could sell that many.
Oh, totally.
Like that's basically the number of people at stand and or at the PLE. So in theory, like I think their math was off. So like
What they'll
I
do is tag it on to the price of the ticket and say they're giving the calendars away for free.
right. Right. But dude, I bet you I guarantee you they sell over 5,000 of those calendars in real life though. Because
Oh,
I'm gonna
totally.
buy one. I gotta
Because
buy
you're
one.
gonna
It's
buy
gonna be in this.
2,000 of them.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, no, not that much, but yeah, I'm gonna get one for sure. And
It's gonna be in the background on our next broadcast.
yeah, 100%. So hopefully, like, it's not like a really ridiculous looking calendar and I look like a creeper, but
I
um,
hope Joe Gacy's on one of the months.
I would lose it if I would be so pumped, but it definitely isn't Joe Gacy on that. So yeah,
Uh, yeah,
I thought they were gonna go. Oh, go
I want
ahead.
to see the girls from Chase U wrestle. Like I feel like I haven't seen them. Maybe I missed it, but I feel like I haven't seen Thea, who was like had a hot streak like during the whole Tiffany feud.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I want to see JC like back in the ring again because I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of talent in there. I mean Carmen's at Chase U. I would like to see her in the ring more too. And then that new girl, the brunette, the one with the long hair, she was also signing at the table. I thought she was really cool too. So
Oh yeah,
it'd
that
be
girl.
great to see Chase U in the ring.
I can't
Jasmine?
remember.
No.
Yeah, it is Jasmine. You're right. I don't remember
Yeah.
her last name though. It seems like they've been putting her in quite a bit. I honestly thought with the Thea Hale, um, gosh, what's
Riley?
that guy's Riley story? I thought he was gonna actually be in love with JC Jane the whole time.
Uh,
That's what I've been
yeah.
thinking the whole time. So I'm
Start a
kind of
feud.
yeah, I thought it was gonna turn everything up, but I love how awkward she is and how awkward and how JC Jane is basically like how we would be acting in the background watching her interact with that dude because I would be like, what the hell are you doing, you weirdo? But
Yeah,
um
JC Jane is all of us.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
like
and yeah, and with Riley, I'm yeah, he's actually pretty talented in the ring. I think he'll they've been showing him a lot, like in acting things and stuff too, which is usually a
yeah.
good sign that you're going to be pushed. Yeah, there's the one girl, the amateur wrestler that won the Olympics, Tamira Menza Stock. She's one of them that came out when they're like, oh, the girls who are like in the
Mhm.
calendar. She was in it, and I just want her. So they're like, she's in Chase U now because they like brought her out and they actually showed her on TV and not just like in the background. So I'm hoping that means she's gonna like start having matches soon because
Mhm.
her like potential is like I think probably as high as Jade Cargill's
Mhm.
potential.
Mhm.
Um, I actually would say it might be higher because I think she can play heel and face and has like a sense of humor where like Jade Cargill just looks like she looks like Storm, just like a
Right.
superhero, like but
Right.
kind of is like more of a heel and like kind of sassy and everything. And I think just her amateur wrestling background is going to give her a lot higher ceiling wrestling wise than probably Jade. So I may eat my words, but I mean, I feel strongly that her ceiling is going to be even higher than Jade. So, and she's not on anyone's radar, but that's like someone they just got chilling in the background Um, and they got the Ren Sinclair girl who's new that was with like the Ariana Grace and
Mhm.
that whole like feud going on. And Ren Sinclair is actually like a really good indie wrestler. Like she had a pretty big
Oh,
following. So yeah, I think I was watching the interview with um HBK and someone was asking about like because she had only been at the training center for 2 weeks before they put her on TV.
oh
So
wow,
which like it was basically because what's her name got hurt, but
Cora.
Gora and she's just like slid in and they're like, yo, this girl's like killing it and like 2 weeks is nuts. Usually they're gonna
Yeah,
like not trust you like to do anything.
right.
So uh yeah, she's got a lot of potential for sure. So yeah, there's just like tons of girls on that roster that uh yeah, I don't know how they do it at the training center. They just
Crazy.
yeah. Because people will complain about the injuries and stuff, but I'm like, yeah, but these people haven't wrestled before, and you're like,
Right.
and like just, I mean, ACLs injuries on girls are just more common. Like it's scientifically proven. So like,
Right.
if you have any like high impact type of thing, that's just an injury that's going to happen. So, yeah, I give them props. They've been done a good job of making stars of. They haven't really made that many stars of dudes from the PC necessarily, but like
Yeah.
on the women, they've knocked it out of the park. You got the four horsewomen, and then
Hmm.
basically every other woman on the roster is from
It's
there, other
true.
than like Natalia at this point.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's a good point. Yeah, they do make the women superstars over a matter of years, just a few years, and they're already out there on the main roster,
Bianca
like
is
headline.
like, I don't think Bianca had much indie experience at all. I think she just was like an athlete and went into the PC and then learned how to wrestle there. So
We could also
Rhea
learn more
wrestled.
about that on Love and WWE,
Yeah,
which
I
I
haven't
just
watched it yet. Have you watched it?
I watched the first episode. It
Oh,
was
okay.
good. Montez is hilarious, just absolutely a riot, like every time, just naturally. He's so funny. Um, yeah, man, it's just like a really cool couple who, like I said, I want them to be my parents. So, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
NXT remains to be my favorite show that I look forward to every week, even though I don't get to watch all of it. And it's the one that I love just because it's so like the guard is down. Like I could lose my dignity
Yeah.
watching
It's like
it.
a soap opera kind of. Uh
Yeah, and then yeah, it's like the WB with feuds. It's like a WB show with like
well,
action.
it's
And
going to the
then
CW, so
SmackDown,
it
I
makes
love.
sense.
SmackDown is the show that I want more of at the end of every time, and then Raw. Oh God, 3 hours is tough, but I love NXT. NXT is so good.
NXT is an easy watch because um I'm not like I guess when I'm watching it too, I know it's like developmental. So like
Hmm.
I like
Giving
seeing
it more
them.
grace.
Yeah, I give it more grace and I'm like, oh, okay, well yeah, that didn't look great, but the person's been
Yeah,
wrestling for like 3 months, like whatever. Like
right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Uh so yeah, I give it more grace and I just like how stupid the stories are as
Yeah.
well. Like you got the what is her, Brinley Reese, the girl who's like just super positive, like that
Yes.
does the cart like she'll get everyone pumped
Cartwheel
up and then do
outside
a
of the room.
cartwheel out of the room, and I'm like, okay, this girl's weird, but I
Yeah.
like it for some reason. So, um, I think they do a good job giving them experience doing, I mean, the stupidest like gimmicks ever. That, but it if you could play that, and some of them probably haven't done acting before. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, it's probably really difficult to do that, and you know you're going
Mhm.
to look like a buffoon on TV. But yeah, I think they're doing a great job with NXT, and yeah, that PLE was great. Like
Yeah.
it's, I think it might be my favorite NXT one in the last like 12 months,
Wow.
match wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the one we went to was great, but I feel like this had no boring matches at all.
Right.
And
I don't
yeah,
think the one we went to had any boring matches either. I know we were
no,
there.
I didn't like the
Braun
Braun
Breaker
and
one.
Corbin match. I did not I did not like that one that much. I feel like all the matches were better than that one for sure.
Right.
But the Becky um
Tiffany.
that Becky Tiffany match was great, and so was the Mello Dragunov one.
Dragunov.
So like I think the top two were like in the one we went to was better than any of the matches in this, but just the baseline at this one was pretty nuts.
Mhm.
Because yeah, I have the Dragon Lee one is like last place for me, and that was a pretty good match. So
Right.
yeah, I mean this is really good. Maybe if I watch it again, I change my mind, but that's how I feel right now. So
That's usually
recency
what
bias.
happens. It's like
Yeah,
you hope the feeling stays with you, or like, it's better than what you remember, at least. So,
yeah, hopefully. So, um, well, it's like 10. You probably need to go to sleep, but we could
yes.
talk about the rock stuff if you needed, but we could do that another time.
Oh,
So
I mean, that's like a 3 hour session right
I
there.
know.